with the election of Mr. Buhari, a former military dictator.
Professor Onye, same question.
Oh yeah, sure.
Very quickly before you go. I think the Nigerian people are very happy with the visa ban, and they would have asked for more. They would have preferred that the justices, all the justices of the Supreme Court, be specifically placed on a travel ban along with their families. And the APC leadership, and their families, APC leadership meaning the chairman of APC, the leader of APC, they should all be placed on a visa ban, because it's very, very obvious to Nigerians that this was orchestrated by that political party. They found a way to ensure that 2023, what you see playing out now is 2023. They just want to make sure that they have the other hurdles knocked down before 2023. And Imo State is one of the most populous states in Nigeria, and certainly the most populous state in the southeastern part of Nigeria. And they see that state as a very critical state. Nigeria is divided into 6 zones: northeast, northwest, north central, southwest, which is Lagos, the Yorubas, southeast, which is a homogeneous section, all Igbos. And then you have the south, where you have River State, Cross River State, Bayelsa, where you have the oil. In the southeast, there is no APC governor in the entire 5 states in the southeastern part of Nigeria, which has been bothering the APC people. So now they have succeeded in taking Imo, which they see as a bridgehead for 2023. That's what this problem is all about. So if the U.S. government realizes where the problem is coming from, which is not necessarily from the president, although everything that goes wrong must be attributed to the executive branch because he's the head of a state. But what you see here is an orchestration by all progressives Congress. Basically, they have discovered a brand new way of winning elections through using the judiciary, and specifically the Supreme Court. I say specifically the Supreme Court because the Court of Appeal ruled in favor of Imo State. The tribunal also ruled in favor of Imo State. But I think who they have taken is the Supreme Court, because that's ultimately, the last court. And they figured no matter what happens down the trial level, it's the Supreme Court that would give their final ruling. So if the United States government places some of these visa bans on precisely the individuals or the groups or the organizations, i.e. the APC, then it will have more effect than just making it a general thing. So that's what I know Nigerians would prefer. So, Dr.
Can I follow up on that?
Yes.
Are you suggesting that this is a conspiratorial issue? Is this conspiracy on a global or even a national scale by the Supreme Court judges who made this decision? Is it conspiracy?
I don't know whether I can classify it as a conspiracy. But what I do know is that the facts are clear that the Supreme Court was corrupted, the justices, beginning from the removal of the Chief Justice of Nigeria. Nigerians began to see the pendulum swinging towards one end. But they weren't quite sure what was going to happen. When he was removed, they were expecting that the Nigerian Judicial Council, NJC, would follow the process and put in someone who was qualified to be there. But they brought in Tanko Mohammed. So it became a bit obvious to Nigerians where this thing was going. And then after that, they rearranged the justices. Nigeria has 13 Supreme Court justices, not the way we have it here in the United States, where you have 9 justices. They have 13 justices. And from that 13, they can select 7 to hear a particular case. And that's where the Chief Justice derives a lot of what I call political, power. Because now he can choose the justices that he knows are going to listen to him. So in the case of Atiku versus Buhari, instead of following the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and cut it off, he took number 1, went down, took number 8, took 10, just selected the people he felt would listen to him. And so that's when it became obvious that the judiciary was completely gone. But when the Imo State judgment came out, if it had come out the way Atiku's case came out, which was the server, the card reader didn't work and all of that, very technical, Nigerians would have still maybe still been taken for a ride again. But in this case, whether it's by divine or for some reason, they did 2 plus 2 equals 5. And everybody said, wait a minute, 2 plus 2 has never been 5, Well, the Supreme Court said, well, 2 plus 2 is 5. We're the final. So whatever we say is final, And so it's very obvious that this Supreme Court does not have the guts to tell the APC leadership, we're sorry, we can't do this. They don't have that guts. So if they don't have that guts, it means that the system is completely gone, because governments are run by institutions, ministries, departments, and agencies. That's how governments are run. When you destroy those agencies, those departments, those institutions, the table crumbles. If you take the 4 legs of a table, the table, crumbles. So Nigeria has been standing on one leg, the judiciary. Is the common man's hope. But right now, that leg has just been chopped off. So that's the concern. If the United States will step in and increase the visa ban, and as Mr. Bruce Fine has said, I think the Magnitsky
Global and Human Rights Accountability.
Yes, and anything they can do, because see, the Nigerians are coming here to ask for help. The Nigerians here who are Americans are the ones asking for help, because if you don't ask for help from your neighbor, he might not know what is happening internally in your house. So Nigerians are saying, wait a minute, there's no way we can counter this. We cannot anymore, because the judiciary that we used to rely on is gone, And it's very easy for the Nigerian government to quickly say, we're a sovereign state, you can't tell us what to do. That's a major excuse that they would very soon have. And so America is not telling them what to do. America is basically saying, wait a minute, your constitution says you do it this way, you do it that way. Just follow your constitution. We're not telling you to follow American constitution. We're not telling you to take American standard or international standard. Take your standard. They have failed woefully, even going by their own standard. So if there's anything that the United States can do, and I think the easiest thing they can do is the visa ban. They've already started it. The visa ban was not placed because of the Imo judgment. which means there are other issues that have caught the international community's interest. And now we are bringing this up, that this is the final straw that would break down Nigeria. And as the Bruce said, if that happens, the effect in Nigeria and in the sub-region would definitely spill over to the United States. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And so it would be nice for them to nip it in the bud now and save stitch in time, saves nine. So that's the way I see it. Thank you so much. Okay, let's.
A statement has already been made that the visa ban is not as a result of the Supreme Court decision. But the visa ban is a demonstration of what United States is foreseeing happening in Nigeria. I have read that visa ban front and back. And we are thinking of how do we fashion our either acceptance of the visa ban or opposition of the visa ban. And we found out that visa ban is a reaction to the policy we perceive the government is carrying out, which is what? Open border that Nigeria has with some countries that are already under sanction by United States. In other words, those citizens from some countries that have been banned by United States have free ride into Nigeria to obtain visa and travel. So I think United States is reacting to that, to the fact that if we place all these restrictions on you, you will be able to get a message that there are people that are coming through your borders that we don't want. That is number one. Number two, that is really happening, United States is trying to somehow protect the eastern part of Nigeria, or the eastern or southeastern part of the southern part of Nigeria. The reason is that these cross-border practices happen mainly in the north. The north has no boundary with some of these countries, Mali, Ethiopia, Niger, and so many of those countries. Those borders are porous. Meanwhile, the borders in the south are strengthened. That's where you have Nigerian soldiers with guns and ammunition and everything stationed. So that area is secure, but it is the northern borders that is not secure. In other words, that is where most of this crossover. During elections, they stream into Nigeria to vote. And after that, they go. They stream into Nigeria to commit crimes. And then after that, they go. However, where we really feel aggrieved from the southern part is that it is people from the south that come to United States, that need United States visa, that bring their parents, that bring their brothers and sisters. Those in the north end up in the northern part of Africa or Britain, Europe, Saudi Arabia. They really don't come here. When you look at the population, it's the population from the south. In other words, the visa ban affects me, even though it's meant to protect me. So that is why we are thinking to support the opinion here that visa ban, we shall be appealing to the United States government to be specific, to point it, to say, if you are doing something like this, you will be affected, and not to do it as a blanket for the country. That's where we think the visa ban is so broad that should be defined. We need that to be defined. And we support it to the extent that it will send a message to the government that, listen, you have to show up your border. You have to make sure that your airport screening is up to snuff. You don't have to be a transit for anything, drugs, terrorism, or anything. We don't want that to happen. And because the government is not cognizant of what it's doing with this no visa requirement, that is creating trouble for the country. So in other words, as I'm saying, we are trying to juggle the answers and know where our opposition will come from. Thank you.
I would just add, not to beat a dead horse, but as a non-Nigerian, I'm reluctant to answer this question, but I think you can see from the people speaking, the Nigerian diaspora is perhaps like any other in the world. perhaps like any other in the history of the world. The most doctors in North America, the country where most doctors in North America come from outside of North America, is Nigeria. It is a well-educated, learned, hardworking, contributing diaspora movement. As Professor Stanley said, they come from the South mostly, and most of the problems are in the North. But I think, if I can guess, as someone as an observer or a commentator on Nigeria, the visa ban is a very difficult issue. It is good for most Nigerians that finally someone recognizes something's wrong, something's very badly wrong, and it needs to be fixed. But it hurts them. The reality of it is, and I just want to expand on Dr. Stanley's, what it's showing, I think, a lot of people have a presumption that at worst, the worst part of Nigeria, that they know about Nigeria. There are a lot of things going on that most people don't know about. One of the things that looks like it's starting to happen is these new Supreme Court justices may be looking to impose Sharia law because they're from the North. That's very problematic. You can only guess what's going to happen after that, and it may happen anyway. But the visa ban, what it shows and tells is that in Nigeria there are no documentary, there's no structure or integrity. There are no identification methods, which is extraordinary for an advanced society. They don't have a way of telling who you are, where did you go, have you been convicted of a crime, are you on any sort of a wanted or watch list. And they do that, mostly the North, they do that on purpose because it suits their needs. But it doesn't suit the needs of the South and the Southwest and the South-South or the Middle Belt. They're the ones that are suffering. So it's a tough issue. It's a balance. It's good that the United States government is recognizing. It's something that Mr. Fine and I have tried to get them to recognize the bad things that have been going on. But it's bad for Nigeria. The hope is that it will be seen for what it is, which is a clear message of you better join the League of Nations. You better join the rest of the world in figuring out what you need to do to be a meaningful participant. The sad part is it's happening not to a backwards, middle of nowhere country. President Trump has his term for them that I won't repeat. It's happening to the giant of Africa, the heart of Africa. That if we lose the heart of Africa and the giant of Africa, we will lose all of Africa. It will just be turned over. If there is an eruption of all of the bad things that could possibly happen in Nigeria, the entire continent would be lost. And that's the serious nature of what's going on here. And the sadness that I can only imagine. I told a story about being a 7-year-old boy. These people that are here, they live it. It's their life. It's who they are. And they had to leave Nigeria to find their way and to make use of their talents that everyone here wishes they could go back to Nigeria and use. And the world would be better for that. So that's the very long answer to the very good question. And we apologize. Any other question? Okay.